Okay, so I wanted to welcome everybody to my video. I thought today would be a good topic, the insanity of the disease of addiction and the patterns of chronic relapse. And I actually got my boy Timmy here, that I've known him since 2012. We came through treatment together, and he's witnessed my journey, I've witnessed his journey, and I thought that he would be great for this video. So do you want to just tell him a little bit, like, your journey from 2012 up until now?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So as Leon said, I'll start with this. My name is Tim. I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. As Leon said, I've known him since 2012, and it's awesome to see like the growth someone has made due to these steps that ultimately change your life and allow you to become a responsible member of society, hold a job, buy a home, all these things, the promises they talk about. And I can think for me, the insanity of addiction, I talked about this earlier with someone today, and just being sober for a couple years, and then also realizing in hindsight, like, going through these steps backwards until I thought I was powerful over a drug, and going out, which was never a good thing, and then having to come back into the rooms, which I personally believe it's a lot harder once you've had a taste of real life with AA, NA, whichever A you work. Allow these promises to come into your life that are God-given, and see yourself become happy, joyous, and free, to becoming miserable again because you thought you could just do one and it would be different this time. And that's kind of my experience in a whole, nonetheless, like going through them, going back through them. And this has happened multiple times, seeing Leon grow from the day I met him, and then seeing my journey, which is a little bit different in some aspects, and also becoming willing again to do whatever it takes to obtain permanent sobriety, because it's no joke out there. The streets are undefeated.
And what recovery was able to give me, I was able to become a productive member of society, through working the 12-step program and working on my spirituality. I was able to attain goals that I never thought that I would, and it really is all thanks to the program and me continuing working on my spirituality and being connected with my higher power. But one thing, my life was like completely unmanageable in active addiction. Like, I was down to the animal level. The last 2 years of my addiction, I was sleeping on my parents' couch in Seattle. I couldn't hold a job anymore. Nobody wanted anything to do with me. My sole purpose was to just, wake up in the morning and get high. I was living like an animal. And I didn't know that there's a better life out there until, I actually came to treatment. And let me tell you, when I came to treatment, it wasn't like the last time that me and you met, that wasn't my first time. Everybody's got their own journey. And, my first few times, I always, the thing is with the disease of addiction, we deal with a lot of denial. And denial means don't even notice I am lying. So every time I would be in treatment, I would always try to, tell myself, like, I got this. I don't need this. I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna, get home. I'm gonna go to meetings, and that's what you see a lot of that with people in treatment is, in their early stages is like there's a lot of denial involved, and I don't know where I was going with that, but
It's okay.
yeah. So, do you want to maybe tell them a little bit about this, this denial? Because, I know you've relapsed multiple times. So I guess my question to you is, before you go back out, and you're about to leave treatment, did you already know that you're going to get high, or did you have some sort of plan, and you really thought that, you leaving against treatment recommendation, would end up going well for you?
Every time that I have left treatment, whether it's been AMA, ATR, or successfully completing, my mind frame for the last couple years had been completely okay with You know, I'm gonna leave here, go into the animalistic level, like you said, because every time I left, it would be me sleeping in my car for multiple weeks on end in a Walmart parking lot. And I knew the moment I left treatment, it would be 30 minutes, an hour, maybe not, no more than that. And I would be putting a needle back in my arm, you know, doing my drug of choice. And I was completely okay, which is sick when I think about it now, of like, all right, you're gonna have to sleep in your car, wherever it may be, Walmart parking lot, in front of this apartment complex, because nothing was gonna stay in between me and that next fix. You know, as I said, after having some time in the rooms and then going back out, you know, they talk about these bottoms and you keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper. You know, I'd always have a place to go, whether it would be home, you know, my first couple of attempts, whether it would be in a condo where, like I said, these promises came true and I obtained things and I had a home, had a great girl, had a car, had a good job, you know, going to treatment and getting out and being able to go back there. You know, so I had a place to go always. Then at the end of this run, it was like, all right, you're completely okay with going to sleep in your car in a parking lot? Like, that's, for me, that's the animal level. And I never thought my bottom would get that deep between overdoses, this, that, the other. It never got that serious. And as I said, once again, like the animal level, like I was just, as sick as it sounds, okay with leaving a place where I had food, a bed, decent people around me that had the same, you know, common bond, we're all trying to get sober, to leaving Dope Man's house, Walmart parking lot, like nothing. You know, just snapping my fingers. I knew the outcome every time that I had left, and I was completely 100% okay with it.
And that's what's even, I think that we get to a point in our addiction, you know, they talk about insanities, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But then there's something even greater than insanity. It's when you keep doing the same things and you already know that it's not going to end well, but you're still doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like beyond insanity, you know. And I was just thinking too, also to myself, that like we're talking right now about insanity and addiction, but there's also insanity in recovery. So I think what happens a lot, you know, we get a little bit of time, and some of us think that, you know, we don't need to go to meetings anymore, or we, you know, we stop praying, like just little early warning signs, right? We stop praying, we stop meditating, we stop talking to God, and, you know, and then slowly our lives become unmanageable again. Even though we're not using a substance, our lives slowly, we start feeling again like newcomers. We're scared to look in somebody's eye, and, you know, fear starts dominating our lives. So I think that, you know, the biggest battle in recovery is just trying to maintain it, you know, because I know when I start focusing on, you know, I start identifying with my ego, with money, with property and prestige, and I stop practicing my spirituality, I always end up in a really bad place, you know. And so there is such thing as also insanity in recovery if we don't actually work on our recovery.
I agree 100%. You know, you talk about insanity, this, that, or the other, and I feel like I explained a pretty good part of that with sleeping in my car. But, you know, I kind of justified the whole going out thing. You know, you talk about meetings going, and as I said, going through the steps backwards. You know, the meetings going, and the last thing with the prayer, and then thinking I'm powerful. You know, I was working at a great job. You know, I moved down to Fort Lauderdale. I had all these promises that were true in my life, and I got away from my comfort zone where I had gotten sober in Lake Worth. And it was easier for me to say with that amount of time to, oh, I don't need to go to this home. I don't need to make a home group. I don't need to sponsor guys. Like, you've done this. Not necessarily cured, but like, you put your time into the rooms. Now it's time for you to live your life that was given to you. But who am I to think that, like, this life that was given to me by my higher power, that, like, I stopped talking to him. I stopped going to meetings because whatever my routine was, those were the things that are keeping me clean. And I justified it because, like, I'm working this job, and the owner was sober of the company, and he had fired me after about 6 months of trying to help me get sober, but nothing was coming of it. So I had this bright idea that I'd start a business doing the same thing. And I managed to hold the ropes together from January of 2017 till, I would say, November, you know, that year. And it went nuts, dude. Like I said, all those promises went away, and I justified it because I was able to pay the bills. I was able to make a car payment.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to have money to do this, that, or the other. So I was kind of a functioning addict, but, like, you as I talk about these bottoms getting deeper, like I'm booking jobs to show up for, and I'm doing my drug of choice on a boat in an engine room. That's insanity once again. And something had to happen. Something major had to happen in my life for me to finally become okay with not sleeping in my car and just doing this crazy stuff to fulfill my habit. And I can't tell you what day, the exact time, but I was sleeping in my car the night it happened, and just something broke inside of me and was like, all right, Tim, you've been messing around for 2 years. Like, you're either gonna die or you're gonna get sober again. There's a reason you're still alive. And I don't know what that purpose is yet, but I'm pretty sure I'll figure it out in due time. God will reveal it to me, at least my higher will.
Yeah. And it's kind of similar for me too, because I remember right before I came to treatment the last time around, I really felt like I had no more soul left. I really felt like I was gonna die. I think that's really what it took for me is realizing that I had to hit that kind of bottom, realizing that I have no spirit left and that I'm like a few seconds away from dying. And, I think a lot of us, unfortunately, sometimes need that kind of bottom to recover.
And another way I kind of justified it, I forgot to say it, doing opiates and stuff like that for the last 15 years on and off of my life, I was like, oh, I'm not as bad as this person. I haven't been Narcan. I've had to save people with Narcan, but doing the same amount of drugs that they were doing, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'm a little different. I can handle this because I haven't been Narcan. That's a not yet for me. And the reality is, like, that doesn't have to be okay. Like, I can be okay with not being Narcan. It doesn't have to be like, I don't necessarily want to say like, it has to happen to me or anything, but in my mind I would be like, all right, maybe I'll stop once I get Narcan, because then I had reached the bottom of jails, institutions, and death. I never experienced the death part, so that's a not yet. But it doesn't matter. Like, once again, the animalistic level of living in your car, like, dude, what was I thinking? It became a normalcy, like a reality that was normal for me. And today, like, I think of that and I'm like, dude, you were so sick. You were okay with this,
Yeah.
And at the time, I was completely okay with it. But now it's like, dude, your life is so much better. All you got to do is accept the program again, do a couple things. I always say this, like, it's a complicated program for like super smart people, and it's so easy that it becomes hard because we overthink things through, and it's like you get through these steps and like you get to a fourth step and like you write out these resentments. And when I did mine, I didn't write like Johnny stole my hat in kindergarten, it was like myself first. I'm resentful at me, I'm resentful at my parents, I'm resentful at some friends, and I put down the things that were like affecting me today at this point in time. I got through it, and that ultimately became part of my amends list, and I had to make these amends, and life kind of changed. God gave me something that I couldn't obtain without a higher power and without doing steps.
Hold on. What? Time? How much?
Alicea's texting.
You can talk because I'm going to edit it out.
Alicea's texting me. She told me to come when she needs to talk
How
to
long
me.
have
She's
you
like,
been
come.
What time is it? We're pretty much...
It's 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It's 15 minutes?
We're good.
Okay, so one last thing. And then you can... okay, so obviously we spoke about insanity and active addiction, even insanity in recovery. What are your suggestions to somebody who may be watching this that is, on this insanity trip right now? What would you tell them? What would be your suggestion? How to become sane again?
So
I guess.
the biggest part of my early recovery, when I was able to get some time, I would say, unity, or no, I would say get the treatment if you have the option. If you don't, do the best you can. Go to a state-ran place. Check yourself in the hospital so you can get detoxed. Once you get out of there, go to the closest AA house, NA, CA, HA, crystal meth anonymous, whatever A you find for you. Get in there, raise your hand, say I'm new and I need help. You'll get a list of phone numbers. You don't necessarily have to find a sponsor at that time, but they'll welcome you with open arms. I don't remember the last time someone like gave me a hug when I walked in a room, shook my hand, whatever it was, because I was so tweaked out and just completely obnoxious with this insanity and this disease that like I felt like no one wanted to be around me, and that was my own personal stuff. And I'm sure people that are watching this video, you know, if you're at that point, you know, you're getting high, you have nowhere to go, you're out of money, you're hustling who you can, like, there's definitely a problem, because that's not normal. But get into the rooms, raise your hand, say I'm new, meet some great guys or women for women, you know, get involved. Instead of standing on the outside of the circle, jump right in the middle and get serious about this thing. Because there's also a reason too, people that are listening to this, like that you're listening to this video. You're not dead, you're not 6 feet under. You know, and also I think about this too, and it's kind of off topic, but like, I can't count the amount of times that like my mother would call me 3, 4 in the morning. You know, imagine the stuff you're putting your family through, your close friends, people that really care about you. You know, and that was kind of my drive for a little bit. You know, I don't want to keep hurting the ones that love me. But as I said, get in the room, get a home group, get a sponsor, and get into the book, whichever book you do, NA or AA, because that's where you'll start to see the changes. You know, the AA book talks about, and the 9-step promises, you know, we'll be amazed before we're halfway through. And the 10-step promises in the AA book talk about, like, if tempted from alcohol, I say dry goods, you know, you'll recoil as like from a hot flame. You know, a normal person, they touch a stove, they're going to back their hand up because that's hot. You know, addicts and alcoholics, we like to keep our hand on that stove and see how much we can get, you know, and how much we can pull out of this, that, or the other. So once again, home group, sponsor, a network of guys around you or women, and ultimately doing the steps. You know, that's what had worked for me, and other people find other ways that work. There's nothing against those ways, but I'm the kind of alcoholic and drug addict that needed a program, needed these 12 steps, and needed to accept my higher power into my life, or I wouldn't be sitting here today. That's all I got.
And, you know, and that's where it starts for a lot of us. I know for me it definitely did, is getting into the rooms, you know, and then step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. You know, when we find that higher power and we start practicing hope and faith and building a relationship with that power, you know, we actually get restored to sanity. That is the beautiful thing. We get our lives back. Forget about it. We get better lives.
Yeah.
You know, like I can say that I am really like living beyond my wildest dream today. You know, so. But anyway, Timmy, thank you for coming through,
No problem.
brother.
Thank you for the opportunity.